just before the podcast started, Akshay, is your chair fine? You were almost about to collapse with the chair.
Absolutely, Raj.
Is the weight of the burden of expectations weighing on your shoulders?
Of what? Defending.
Defending.
Whoever you
Just
want to
defending.
defend.
Just being defensive and taking
Bilkul.
U-turns.
I've never, swayed away from facts.
Oh,
Even
you
when
have
I
always
take,
swayed away from facts.
even
Just
when
go
I
back to
take-
one of our recordings earlier, one of our podcasts earlier, and I can maybe do a word count on the number of times I've used U-turn and Akshay together. What happened? What was the problem? Did they change it?
No, it's fine.
You mentioned some podcast producer who serves you coffee, apparently. Anna
Yeah.
hasn't yet offered us any.
Yeah.
So before we started this podcast,
Yeah.
the 30th episode of the Sledging Room,
Yeah.
I saw 2 cups of coffee and I asked Anna, where's our coffee? And she said, you have to be guests, apparently. Or somebody suggested a 3-hour podcast.
Yes.
Go on and on. Well, I mean, we can, right? I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
it's just...
And talking about cricket, I think we can talk for like hours and hours and hours.
If you have to ask us why Shubman Gill over KL Rahul, I mean, I can go on for hours. I can get us 2 cups of coffee minimum.
Maybe Akshay will not like that conversation.
Akshay won't like it. But he will also flip.
Yeah.
In
multiple
the
U-turns.
middle of the
U-turns during a
podcast.
show.
Your U-turns.
Yeah.
Akshay is like Shahid Afridi.
Did you have to take any U-turns, Raj? This is a special podcast for Arshi Gupta, for the listeners. He has spotted a tiger. One of those rare persons who goes to Ranthambore.
Ranthambore. No.
And
In
spots
fact,
tiger.
in fact, I've heard a lot of people
Okay,
who've
Raj,
been to
we've been
Ranthambore
speaking
have...
so much about cricket. Let's make this into how to spot a tiger in Ranthambore.
You have to be lucky. I guess you have to be lucky. It was our day. Barely 20 minutes into the safari, we spotted tigress.
And some local knowledge of the place.
Not local knowledge per se, it's just that it was sheer luck. You remember we'd gone to, all
Yes.
3 of us had gone to
Yeah.
Alwar last year. No luck.
Yeah.
And I love jungles. I've been to several across the country. All of them beautiful jungles. It's just your luck, right? But again, when you're on a jungle safari, you don't go in with the intention and with the sole desire to spot a tiger.
You
Obviously,
also
that's one of the high points.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think this was
To just the experiences also.
just the experience.
And you also said about how some forests in India actually have some noise levels, and South African forests strictly ban you from...
Yeah, I mean, whenever you go to a jungle, but you're not supposed to be too loud because A is disturbing the wildlife. It's just not decent enough. I mean, you go into the tranquility of a forest, you expect a little bit of
Yes.
quiet around you. But we had 2 young kids with us on the gypsy. It's difficult to control them sometimes, but their parents were very nice and very firm with them, got them to quieten down. But it was a unique experience. We saw the tigress just barely meters away from us.
Yeah.
We also saw the tigress trying to hunt down deer. She was unsuccessful, but boy, what a sight that was. And it was a refreshing break between...
For those who are interested in that video, we can actually play the video in this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about tigers.
Why
and
not?
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If this podcast does well, we can maybe shift to doing
Some wildlife.
Wildlife.
I mean, I can surely, look
absolute,
at
that's
that.
what I'm saying. I'm not joking at all.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would love to. Venture
Tidbits,
into
5
world
minutes of sledging room, we talk about spotting
Yeah.
tigers,
and wildlife.
how to
and-
handle yourself in a forest.
I, in fact, also used the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway to get to Jaipur. What a drive that was. It's a spectacle. I mean, it's just, it's a superb ride.
And there are
Superb
good
drive.
chai dukans.
Yes, in fact, there are several of them coming up. It's still very new. They've just opened it up to the public. It's barely been a month, not even a month actually. But there are some very good places already, and it's sensational. It's obviously it saves out a lot of time. It's a great drive. The scenic beauty is it's majestic. It's majestic for even if you're not a big driver, even if you're not into driving, just get on a cab, go hang out with a friend, ask them to drive you through that spot. Even if you're not going to any particular city, just go to one of those eateries, come back. I think it's just so spectacular.
Why are you two shying away from the main topic today? Because
No,
you
there
think
is
you
no.
guys
I'm
have
not.
got to
It was you. Because I just got back to town yesterday and I'm still so charged up. There was a bit of time in between the second and the third test matches. I thought I'd just go drive down, see some folks, see a tiger.
Just like how India also prepared. A lot of their stars didn't train, went either.
That's okay. Do they have to?
I think they are.
If you have to be the best,
I think they are 2-0 up in the series. Australians are down and almost out.
But
They have
can
lost-
you call this Indian team the best team?
Some
Huh?
context to our listeners and to our viewers. We've just shifted from
Yeah.
jungle
He was
safaris
talking about
and the
Delhi to
Delhi-Mumbai
Mumbai.
Expressway
Now
to the
let's go to Delhi
Border-Gavaskar
to
Trophy.
Yeah.
To the Border-Gavaskar Trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right. India have been intimidating. India have crushed Australia. Unfortunately, Pat Cummins had to miss out. That's you do
See,
sympathize.
intimidation is going to New Zealand and beating New Zealand. It's not like winning home test, right?
So are you trying to? I mean, yeah. So let's just lead on the context. I mean, is England now the better test team than India? Is England the best test team in the world? Is England, have a lot of people mocked the Bazball concept, and now look at
Even
that.
we were skeptical of the Bazball concept
Yeah,
at the start.
I
of
still
it, right?
am, by the way,
Yes.
because Find won that first Test match in New Zealand. That was a stunning win, and then New Zealand pulled off the improbable, becoming only the fourth country to win despite following on. England did it twice. I think
India
what
did it
1894 and 1981, so
Yes,
almost a
yes.
100-year gap there. Then 2001,
One.
50 or 40 years there, and then
another 23, 22 years.
yeah, so 30 years between the second and the third Test match wins, and now after 22 years, you have New Zealand pulling it off. Well, that's crazy. But again, they were playing in their own conditions. But to stop that England team, but Akshay, before I get to Saurabh, because I kind of know what Saurabh, where he is inclined.
Because, yeah.
No, but is it true though? Do you think from the outside that look?
See, initially, when this all McCallum-Stokes thing happened, when they beat New Zealand, when they beat South Africa, and then when they beat even India, I was a little skeptical. But the way they have stuck to their processes, the way they have stuck to their, this is what we'll do, regardless of what the situation is, what the condition is, pitch baad mein jao. What Ravi Shastri said a couple of years ago.
So,
McCallum and Stokes have implemented, and I don't have any reason to not
basically-
believe that England are not the best.
so basically, you are saying this English team is following the template that we
Yes.
Indian team set up.
Yeah, absolutely. But you guys are.
No, what
Indians-
template did you set up? You didn't set up a template where your best batsman is going at a strike rate of 90.
No,
But-
but he's talking about pitch baad mein jao. It
That
was the
mentality.
Indian team.
That
India's
is the
coach.
mentality. Let's accept that both of them are following very different
This
templates.
is properly Shaz ball, what England are doing. But India themselves have failed to follow that. That's what I'm saying.
No,
They
but
were
India,
a good team.
I don't agree there. Did India ever have that kind of template where they're going at, you get someone like Harry Brook, who, by the way, is an exceptional choice to play Test cricket. He comes and you think he's a product of the T20 genre, of the T20 era. And there he is. This guy walks in and he's Bradmanis. He scores 184. Then he gets a diamond duck in the same Test
This
match.
is also the same. See, why would we say that Shubman Gill is not as talented as Brook, or if not better, more
No,
talented?
nobody's comparing.
But
That's
the
not
problem
comparison.
is you have to be brave with your team selection as well, right? You have been
but
persisting with KL Rahul,
there's no comparison
who has not
there.
performed.
Because while there was a Virender Sehwag, there was also a Rahul Dravid, and then there was also an MS Dhoni.
Absolutely. Are India taking brave calls that are paying them well? No.
No. But first we'll stick to England. Are they a better test team than India? Yes, obviously they've taken some brave calls, but sort of also it just reflect on how the England innings sort of got blown away in that chase. Why would Joe Root play that kind of unorthodox shot? And he's on 95. In England are about 40, 50 runs away from victory. Less than 50.
Yes.
With not too many wickets in hand. I mean, it was England's game to win.
Especially after that Root innings.
Especially after
and
that
Ben
Root
Stokes
innings.
partnership with Root. And if you ask me, yes, England have been brilliant the way they have been winning. But if you see at the pattern when they started winning this Test match, Stokes and McCallum were appointed, and they have been playing fearless cricket when they have been out of this World Test Championship final ka ye. What will happen when the next cycle starts? When everything is at stake, that position to play in the final, that is at stake. Will England play the same brand of cricket?
I definitely
What
think
will
so.
happen when you play an Australian attack and Asia's in your home condition? Will you play with the same approach when you come to India against Indian spinners? I highly doubt it.
No, but in England's defense, Saurabh, they played the exact same way to win that World Cup. They adopted a template after the disappointment in
Exactly.
2015. They
ODI.
stuck to it, and then they won the World Cup in 2019. I mean, you could always debate that final. You could always debate whether New Zealand and England should have held aloft that World Cup together, right? But they stuck to the template for sure. I mean, On Morgan came in for those 4-5 years. He was terrific as a captain. Even the T20 World Cup victory, right? That was in the making because of the template that they followed in the other format. Now, you're coming to Test cricket. Because Test cricket is a lot more nuanced. You got to look at pitches, you got to look at conditions, you got to look at spinners, pacers, swing, bounce. Not that they were incapable of handling Neil Wagner's short ball barrage. I still think that maybe Joe Root shouldn't have played that shot. Now, because you're buying, because there is another school of thought which wonders whether Joe Root has bought into Bazball. Now, why does Joe Root have to completely become a different player? I mean, he was doing pretty damn well.
He himself said that he had some sort of identity crisis on fitting into this team.
I mean, imagine when this team came to India 2 years back, that Chennai Test match double 100, or when they were in Sri Lanka, Joe Root, goodness, none of the other England batters stood a chance against the spinners in the subcontinent. Joe Root was phenomenal, boss. Now, you have someone like Harry Brook, you have someone like Ben Foakes, you have Ben Duckett, who's, they have obviously, they're carrying. By the way, Ben Stokes doesn't seem to have changed a lot of his test match batting. Has
Absolutely.
he?
No.
He was aggressive, he was solid, he's still what he is. But why that extra pressure on Joe Root just because he's that one star in that England batting lineup? You have someone like Harry Brook, he's working wonders for you. And as for this debate, fine, we are also stirring up the fire a little bit. But in the present context, are England better than India? It's a very, very difficult point to address because on the current cycle, I would say India are ahead. They won the I'll tell you why. They won the test series in India. India won the test series in India. India went to England and drew that test series 2-2. Fine. Your recent memories of the Birmingham test match.
Yes.
Your recent memories of that Birmingham test match. But
if
by
you're
that measure,
gonna,
it is just that one test match that you're measuring over the last 1 year.
If you're going to talk about the team under Virat and Shastri, I will now also say that team was better than this team.
No,
this
but I'm
England
talking
team.
of a cycle. I'm not talking of management. I'm talking of a cycle.
No, where has Indian team gone from the highs of Brisbane?
I agree.
You have the home test. It's still difficult to play home conditions. You have to. The ball is the ball for the same. The pitch is the pitch for same to two teams, and you have to win it. But barring these 2 home tests against an Australian team, what has this team done?
I agree. But you also have to realize 2 things. One, India were on a winning spree overseas, right? Then they fumbled in South Africa and in that one-off test match in England. Under Rahul Dravid, whose coaching has been iffy, whose team management has been a little, there are still question marks around it. But they have failed to do what Ravi Shastri did overseas. But again, new management, new bowling coach, probably you bring in new ideas. They don't work with the old horses who did very well.
Yeah.
Right?
And the captain was not available due to fitness and illness.
Yes, I mean, Rohit Sharma did not play a lot of these test matches and he's been your best test batter for a while in the top order. I mean, we haven't even come to the lower order.
He's the only top order batter who has been scoring runs.
Who's been scoring runs?
Rahul also. Before this league
KL Rahul is a top order batter, full stop, as of now. I mean, that's it.
I think KL Rahul's last 100 came in 2021.
Against South Africa.
Yeah.
So that's the point. I mean, yes, you're looking at India now in the backdrop of those 3 test matches. They won in South Africa. Even that was under Rahul Dravid.
Yes.
They won the first test match in South Africa. They lost 2. And then that Birmingham test defeat. And where India were very competitive, but then England had just started adopting the Bazball concept. England have to now go to Australia.
Yeah.
England have to come to India to prove that because the last time they came here, it was a disaster. Do you think that Bazball concept will work against these spinners on pitches that are not really
You know what I would say?
Yeah.
Bazball is their best option. If they are going to adopt that Joe Root approach,
India.
Otherwise they'll stumble. They have no other way to. You have to put that thought in your head that we are coming here to dominate, not play like this Australian team, like with no intent, no proper planning. I think that Bazball approach will be the only thing. I'm not saying that England can win in India, but if they have to have a chance, they need to see the plant of doubt in the Indian
but what doubt?
management.
What doubt? I mean, look at the way England batted in 2012, for instance. Kevin Peterson, Alistair Cook, Ian Bell.
Yeah.
That footwork was solid. They didn't necessarily go at 100, 120, that's a strike rate of 100, 120. Yeah. But they were aggressive. I mean,
But I don't think Bazball is just about that 100 and 120 strike rate. No.
It seems like it because Joe Root, I mean, why else would you see Joe Root? And this is not the first time it has happened. It's a reverse.
Yeah.
What was a reverse lab, reverse pull?
I somehow feel Joe Root has been almost
Caught in two minds now.
almost outside from this limited over setup. So I think he's afraid of losing his spot in test side also. Despite scoring so much runs, he might be feeling that if I do not go with the team management ka approach, what will happen to my place?
No, but
He
I
lost
would
his
think
he
Joe Root
lost his
should be
captaincy.
untouchable at this point because
Yes.
you have somebody who
I
can
think,
do
yeah,
that.
I agree with
He
you.
himself
But
said in
what
an
happened
interview
with
last
Joe
week,
Root,
right?
2016 T20 World Cup, he was, I think, England's best run scorer, highest run scorer. He was in brilliant form. But where is he? Has he played a T20 match since then?
To imagine that a batter of Joe Root's stature to come out and say that I had this identity crisis about my role in the team in this new setup was baffling. I think it's down to his personal things and also how the team management is handling it. But apart from that, you can't call that a big blot in this Bazball setup. Apart from that, everybody has been doing.
There's
well.
no blot as such, but sort of my point of contention here is that there is someone. I mean, again, look, we are sitting way, way away, right? We're far away from the setup, from the culture. We don't know what is going on.
Yes.
Again, ironically, both Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum have a New Zealand. Obviously, Brendan McCullum is a New Zealand cricketer. Ben Stokes was born in New Zealand, played a bit there before moving to England. But my point is Ben Stokes, yes, probably looks like he's been caught in two minds. Also, is there that extra added pressure? Because Joe Root was a certain kind of player. He's not the kind of player you'd ever expect for him to go at a strike rate of 150 in a T20 game or 110 in an ODI game. By the way, he's played some stunning ODI innings as well. I'd be surprised if they come to India without Joe Root for the ODI World Cup. You need that man in that lineup.
Especially in Indian condition, you need him.
Especially in Indian conditions because, you need some
Maybe
sense of
this
solidity.
IPL debut might help him.
Who knows? That could be one of the
Playing for
reasons.
Delhi Capital, is it?
No.
Rajasthan Royals.
That could be one of the
He played
reasons.
for Dubai Capitals, but now he's playing for Rajasthan.
Yeah, I mean that could
Ben
be one of the
Stokes.
reasons he's playing the IPL. Who knows? To get used to Indian conditions and to show England what they need here.
And
But from what I have understood about this Bazball, it's not going aggressive, but they made it look like this in the second test. But in Pakistan, they had the approach, right? In Pakistan, they played according to the conditions and they kind of bulldozed the home team. When they come to India, they'll find a way. I'm not saying that they're going to score at 100 against Indian spinners, but the approach will be much better than
But you
Australia.
also need quality spinners to
Yeah.
come and challenge
That is
India.
also
Didn't we
one
see
thing.
what Australia did in Pakistan? On those roads, they won a
Yeah,
test match.
yeah.
What happens when you come to India? You're getting bulldozed. You're getting slammed by everyone across the world.
But maybe unlike
so
the Australians had Matthew
if-
Hayden and
and
Mark Waugh too.
As you pointed out, that England in 2012 when they won, they had very good players and they were very good players for spin bowling also.
And the footwork,
The
that's
footwork
what
was-
matters.
was-
Maybe-
It's not just about...
Yes.
Look at what happened to Australia and Delhi.
Yes,
Too many
Exactly,
reverse
that is my
sweeps.
point, that is my
Usman
point.
Khwaja playing reverse sweeps. They take some
Michael
inspiration from
Clark
that.
today
Yeah.
coming out and saying that I'm surprised that they have not made use of the minds of Matthew Hayden and Mark Waugh, who are in India with the broadcast duties. He's saying pay them, get the idea of how to play spin. Matthew Hayden, I still get nightmares of those knocks in 2004, 2000.
No, what Andrew McDonald's coaching team
Maybe
has done in
these-
Australia is
exactly.
worrisome for an Australian cricket
But maybe
fan.
McCullum can invite Kevin Peterson to the dressing room and maybe sit down and talk.
Yeah.
India England, the same England team have done it in the past. And with this approach, I won't be surprised if they offer a stiff challenge. I'm not saying that they will be able to beat India, but this Bazball with this approach, with solid planning, with clear-cut team selection, they know what they want. Even in the second test, the Wellington test, which ended on Monday, they just lost by a run.
Yeah.
And they declared, that was a brave declaration call or a very foolhardy declaration call. That is something that is up for debate. But had they scored 50, 60 more runs, what would have happened to New Zealand? Would they have had the courage to come back? So England are still figuring out what they have to do with this approach. And
No,
one
but
or
at
two
least they
test
have a
runs
template.
Yeah.
Does India have a template in Test cricket? What happened to that template
Yeah.
after Ravi Shastri left? And it is not just about Rahul Dravid, by the way.
Yeah. All the
That
support.
also coincided with the slump in form for a lot of your key batters. Virat Kohli, nobody's talking about Virat Kohli's form per se. Nobody's talking about Cheteshwar Pujara's form. He was dropped. He comes back, scores a few runs in England, gets 100, his fastest test 100 in Bangladesh. But again, that's Bangladesh. You come to the series against Australia, not getting too many runs. Virat Kohli hasn't got too many runs.
That is also
Yes,
the difference between
KL
the two
Rahul
teams,
has been a
right?
disaster, and you still persist with him.
Yeah.
And if we look at both test matches, we'll realize that India have won those test matches because The lower order is scoring
Yes,
runs.
that is the only reason.
Ravi Shastri, Akshar Patel and Ashwin. they are
Forget these
doing
two
it.
test matches. Go to Brisbane.
Yes.
Go to Brisbane.
Yes.
That was the last of your test match wins overseas. Before that South Africa tour and that one of rescheduled test match in England. Right? What happened there? Your batsman failed. Obviously, Shubman Gill in the second innings, Rishabh Pant, there was a cameo from Rahane.
Yes.
But in that first innings, Pujara was, he was obstinate against the barrage of pace from Australia, but didn't get too many runs.
That is also the difference between the two teams, right? Look at England.
Yeah.
How many informed players they have and how many young talents
But
they
I think it's also a little about luck,
Yes.
right, at that point. It's just that, you know.
and they still don't have a fully fit Johnny Best, though. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. Johnny Best is still not around. But that's the thing, right? You look at this Indian team and you get the feeling that there are holes to plug, but what holes do you plug? But this
The first holes, I think
KL
you
Rahul.
should be brave with the team selection.
yeah, but brave
should
to
be
what
pra-
extent? Brave to what
Yes.
extent? You drop Rahane.
You
drop Pujara.
Exactly.
Pujara has come back, right? Still not in the greatest of
Don't
form
you
against
don't you
Australia.
have alternatives for not for Pujara, not for Virat, but you have so many options for the opening spot.
It seems
You're
like
not
there is no
taking it up.
alternative for KL Rahul.
Exactly.
I mean,
it
he
seems like
might-
there is no Shubman Gill.
Who's Shubman Gill?
Exactly. That is how the
That is
team
how team
management is
management is
thinking.
behaving.
No, but I mean, I've heard former cricketers talk about how a player will get a lot of opportunities, but how many more opportunities? I mean, with KL Rahul, he's no doubt a good talent. But look at we've discussed this before as well. His run of form in 2016-17, he gets a record number of half centuries on the trot, slump. He gets 100 in England, slump. He gets 100 in South Africa. That slump is nearly 2 years long now.
And people, I don't know if they know, they must remember, Joe Root and KL Rahul started at the same time.
Yes.
Joe Root is the test legend. Where is KL Rahul? What has he done in test cricket after playing more than 40 test
He has
matches?
a talent. He's getting the
But
back.
what talent? He's played, nearly 50 test matches,
Yes.
Akshay, and an average of 33.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So talent meets opportunity, is it?
Should keep on meeting according to the team management.
Yeah. Or if your name matches with that of the coach.
You're not saying anything.
No, I'm just
favoritism
saying,
and all
I'm wondering.
that word has been brought up by former cricketers themselves.
Yeah. Rahul meets Rahul. So, but yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, right? Your captain is in fine test form. Virat Kohli got hundreds against Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, right? And you start applauding. You not asking those basic questions. Where has he gone wrong? Is it temperamental? Is it psychological? Is it technical? He is he's struggling against spinners. He's against the spinners.
And every time the experts are saying that the next century is coming in the next match,
Yeah, but it doesn't look like. But he was in fine.
Leave alone
he was in
century.
fine touch in Delhi,
Yeah.
right? In the first innings, even in the second innings, he looked pretty good. In the first innings, he was unfortunate. That dismissal was unfortunate. But maybe it's around the corner.
Let me ask this question to both of you. Is time running out for Virat Kohli in Test?
You take that.
I think yes. Basically because you are winning test matches and that top order failure is getting hidden. The moment you start, imagine you losing 2 test matches against Australia. Had you lost these 2, everybody would have been asking for Virat Kohli's head. Why has he not been scoring runs? And if this continues, what will you do? Even if you win this next test match, you qualify for the World Test Championship final. What happens there? Australia, if they reach there, they will bring their pace attack, and your top order will have to score runs. You can't just depend on Ravindra Jadeja or Rohit Sharma. So Virat Kohli has to score runs in this cricket. And it's not just Virat Kohli. Every top order batter except Rohit Sharma, who has not been scoring runs, they have to come and score runs. Otherwise, they should be benched.
No, but who asked for Virat Kohli's head when he wasn't getting runs for 3
No
years?
one asked. That's what I'm
Apart from us on the sledging room. And then those questions were picked later.
Okay, do you
We asked
agree
those
with
questions.
this? Do you agree with this suggestion that he has done so much? He deserves
Yes,
a longer rope?
it is not just true of Virat Kohli, it is true of a lot of cricketers in Indian cricket. You have to accept that. A lot of cricketers who played well beyond
Yes.
their time, right? I mean, their time should have been up a long time back, but they still continue to play. So Virat Kohli will get those opportunities as well. Again, someone with 27 test match hundreds, with 6 or 7 double centuries, he will get those opportunities. But
So
the
how will you
primary
measure success for Virat Kohli from now on? If he does not score 100, what would you
I
want
think
to see
I
from
think
him?
now he's gone into that phase which he used to speak of, I think, when he was captain. He said the impact that you're making. Maybe he did make a significant impact at the top order
Delhi Test.
in the first innings of the Delhi Test. Maybe in the second innings as well. But I
What
think
would you be happy with? to see Virat Kohli
But
doing
getting
in the
a
third
lot
test.
more runs. Getting, what we are doing currently is to hide under the bowlers. They are the ones scoring the runs. They are the ones taking the wickets. They are the ones making the impact. And you're winning test matches. Even in those test match victories overseas, okay?
Yes.
In Australia, how many of our batsmen really stood up?
Yes.
Unlike 2018-19 where Pujara was in dream touch, Kohli got runs. 2014-15 in Australia, Kohli was on fire. In that test series victory in Australia 2 years back, how many of your batsmen really exploded?
Yes.
Pujara just kept taking blow after blow after blow. He got
Rishabh
runs. Rishabh Pant was exceptional. Shubman Gill was exceptional in that one test match. Rahane scored 100 in MCG, but there were these sporadic performances. But at the end of the day, you still came back with a victory in Australia. Now what is happening is that your spinners are just so good. You have 3-4 world-class spinners, maybe even 5. You take Washington Sundar into account. My God, that boy can bat, right? Your batsman. Now, you're talking of the Virat Kohli conundrum here. Is time up? Is time running out for him? I would say no. You don't have a feasible number 4 to look at. You're not looking at Sarfraz. You're not looking at... Okay, Rahane was dropped. Pujara has been dropped more than once. He's still making... He's making a comeback. He's yet to do something superbly significant. He did not win you the Birmingham Test match. Okay, I'm discounting those hundreds against Bangladesh. That 100 against Bangladesh. However tricky that was. Obviously not very difficult conditions to bat on. Otherwise, Pujara is not known to really open up. But yeah, those questions have to be asked. How long? Has he got a long rope? Yes. Will he continue to get a long rope? Most likely, yes. Yes, because you haven't tried out any of those number 4s. You haven't. And now anyway, this year, after the World Test Championship final, I mean, you're going to be focused on the ODIs. Even in ODIs, by the way, you scored hundreds against Bangladesh and 2 against Sri Lanka. So, and that too in a dead rubber. The 100 against Bangladesh came in a dead rubber when Ishan Kishan was hitting out like a maniac. That T20 100 came against Afghanistan, again in a game that didn't matter.
When India were out of Asia Cup.
Yeah, they were out of reckoning for the semi-final. So, I mean, yeah, and but there are these young guns coming up. Shreyas Iyer, disappointing so far. I mean, he just played that one test match in Delhi after making that comeback. But he's a fine player of spin. Rishabh Pant, I don't know when he'll come back to competitive cricket. So, that template that England have chosen versus a template that
There's no template for India.
Exactly. I was about to say versus a template that seemingly is non-existent. Obviously, they have a template. That's why winning these test matches at home. Australia, they can go on arguing about how these pitches are turning, Saurabh. But they also went to Pakistan, did very well.
Yes.
They went to Sri Lanka, they drew a test series. They come to India and they're all over the place.
Yeah, Australia have not been helped by the media. That pitch debate, nonsensical pitch debate. They did not have to bring it up just ahead of the series.
And also, India are so fortunate to have some two bowlers like Ashwin and Jadeja.
So you're saying India are fortunate to have good spinners, but England are not fortunate to have informed players.
But are England fortunate enough to have great spinners? Jack Leach
That's the problem when they come to India.
picked 5 wickets there in the New Zealand
They need to
second
find
innings.
some good spinners before they.
This is why England can't be the best test team.
That's true, but
And your
but
main pacer,
India's top order.
your main
weakness
pacer is James Anderson, by the way. I don't know how long will this guy
But they
play.
still have replacements. Ollie Robinson can take wickets.
Mark
He
Wood,
can.
he is serious pace.
But
this
all
guy.
these paces are
Whenever he
very
crossed-
much injury prone, right?
But what happens to your top order when you see some grass on the wicket? Failed.
What happens to your top order when they see some cracks on the wicket?
Yeah, exactly.
Our top
Grass,
order-
drive, pitches, top order.
There
And
were-
who do you have as replacements?
It was like there were 2 Indian teams batting in that first test match.
Exactly.
One was Rohit Sharma
Yeah.
and the other was the rest of the top order. And then you had Jadeja and Akshar Patel.
Exactly.
Same with Delhi. It was like Rohit Sharma was batting on a different wicket and then it was like Jadeja was batting on a different wicket. So, yeah, I mean, these are difficult questions that have to be answered. Nobody answers these questions when the team is winning.
But should Shubman Gill play in the third test?
150% this guy should.
What is your take, Akshay? So you'll not back KL Rahul here. Oh, another U-turn.
Okay. If you have backed him so much, give him another test. But I am thinking on the terms of World Test Championship. Is KL Rahul your opener in the World Test Championship final?
No.
He does not
Then
deserve to be.
then give his replacement
Not
enough
that he's
opportunity.
incapable of batting in those conditions. He
But
scored
at
100.
this form, I'd rather give him a break. Because if you want
What break? Why do we have to mince words? Why break? Sack him. What mincing words?
Yeah.
Why are we mincing words? We don't mince words on the sledging room.
Didn't he get a break before the Asia Cup and Zimbabwe tour? What
That
did
was
he
He's
do?
been on
injury
breaks.
break, I think,
But he's been on
So
constant breaks.
now what kind of break do you need?
What
to get his
break?
form back.
Kya form, yaar? Go to Ranji. Go play Ranji.
That
Why
we
he
won't
should have?
do.
Why?
That we
why,
won't do.
Go,
We have
let
an
him-
IPL commitment.
Bring him
I
back
think.
next year
I think
into the
his
test
best
fold.
Karnataka teammate, Mayank Agarwal, has been
No,
scoring.
I'll tell you what will happen. He'll go back to the IPL. He'll score some runs, and then he'll be back in the test team
Yeah. World
for the
Test
World Test
Championship
Championship
final.
final. Ideally, what should happen is, I mean, with my limited understanding of the game, is that he should have gone back to playing Ranji.
That
Got
too,
some runs there.
I don't know when
Get
was
him
the
an
last time
800
he
run
played.
season, 700 run season, and then you bring him back because he's such a talent.
But I don't think Ranji Trophy is the criteria to select player for Indian Test team.
I mean, if you're picking team, look, I completely agree that
That's how
you.
the selectors are thinking.
I
because
agreed with the Dinesh Karthik recall into the T20 World Cup side based on his IPL performances. I
yeah.
get that. I have been saying that. I mean, and this is not a slight on the IPL. I think the Indian Premier League is a great tournament. But you cannot pick players based on T20 performances for the Test team.
Yes.
Pick your best IPL players, best Indian players in the IPL, select them into the T20 team.
Yes.
Maybe even give them a run in the one-day side. Right? Not in the Test team. Unless you're saying that, okay, you know what, we'll go Bazball 2.0. Can India do that, by the way? Why? Why you you're shaking your head with such a
you need conviction.
Sense
You
of
need a
disdain.
very,
clear mindset?
clear mindset.
And your captain and coach should have that mentality. Yes, you are
Exactly.
going to do it. I don't
And this
think
superstar culture, I don't think it'll let you play
Suppose
basketball.
Brendan McCullum worked with, I mean, I'm just adding random fantasy questions. What about Brendan McCullum and Rohit Sharma together? Or Brendan McCullum and Rishabh Pant, maybe those two could have.
That seems to be a
So you think Rishabh Pant is going to be our next future Test captain?
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, again, we'll have to see when he can get
Yes,
back
that is
to
the
playing
most
cricket.
important
I mean, that
thing.
unfortunate
And he's
incident.
getting back.
It's horrifying every time I think about
But the
it. all those
superstar
pictures.
culture, I don't think that, England can drop Joe Root, regardless of whether it's in tests or ODIs. He's not any less a player in limited overs cricket. He has proved
He's been
himself in the
brilliant.
past. But you've told him that, okay, you're not...
Akshay, I have been crying from the rooftops. I've been yelling from the rooftops, wondering whether Rohit and Virat, their time is over in T20 cricket. I wrote an article saying this repeatedly. I did shows where I've said that India should move on beyond these two. Yet they had to wait for this T20 World Cup. That is the culture in Indian cricket. You don't want to take this.
To see
Now
Rohit
you've
Sharma
gone
fail.
on.
To see Rohit Sharma fail miserably in that
Yeah.
T20 World Cup.
Virat Kohli, apart from that one innings against Pakistan,
Yeah.
I mean, you'll say he scored a 50 against England. I have thrashed that 50. It meant nothing because you were getting at the strike rate. Surya Kumar Yadav, fine, he's been there and thereabouts. But what about the rest of the team? You haven't taken a call on these big three yet: KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli. They're the ones who lost to the T20 World Cup
Yes.
But
because
India
of their
also,
approach.
India also dropped their test vice captain in limited overs. Ajinkya Rahane.
I mean, he was dropped from the team altogether. But then again, they're not the superstars, so to say. KL Rahul is perhaps a superstar. Because he has age on his side.
If England can decide to not play Stuart Broad and James Anderson together in a test,
That
That
is
is a call.
rotation. That is rotation. But they have also withstood that pressure. Remember, England dropped Stuart Broad for one test match. He was furious.
Yeah,
but maybe
yes.
that was on the rotational policy. And he said, I just don't understand that. It was 2020, 3
Yes,
years back.
yes, yes.
He was on the Sky interview as well. He said, I don't understand. I mean, those were pretty harsh, strong words. But they did that. They still did that. And that was another different
India also
team
benched
management.
Ashwin in England. Give
Yeah.
him a chance.
I mean,
Only
for all those test
only
matches.
for
I mean,
only for bowlers this culture applies, I think.
yeah, not to your senior batsman.
No, not to your superstar batsman.
I mean, template versus mentality.
I don't know whether KL is a superstar yet or not. I don't know in what criteria. How do you fit him? Is he a superstar cricketer? Is he a
But
legend?
you are the ones who make players.
No,
you
I'm
give-
asking
elevate
how-
players to that. I mean,
I'm
by you,
asking-
I meant the media.
I'm
Yeah.
asking how is the team management looking at him? Is he a talented youngster yet? Or is he an accomplished
Isn't he the
player
same age
yet?
as Joe Root? Or
He's 31 years old.
Is he an accomplished player or is he a superstar? In what basis is he getting this
I
long
mean,
rope?
if you're looking
I
at him
think-
as a 30-year-old youngster with a lot of talent in the future, then that's
If you ask me, I'll put it straight. Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they earned everything. KL Rahul is getting everything on a plate. Especially after his failure as a batter.
I mean, Rohit Sharma was
Especially how I don't understand how he got that vice captaincy and then that captaincy.
he was being looked at as a future Test captain.
He led us in South Africa and Bangladesh very recently.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
lost.
Rohit Sharma, by the way, even in his first few years, those 4-5 years, this formative time, he was severely criticized, and A lot of people would say he has the talent, this, that, but he later on started despising that word. And from 2012, 2013, he just turned it around. Virat Kohli has been in top gear
But I
all
think
through.
Rohit was what? In 2012, how old was Rohit? 26, 27 max?
2013.
No, 2012, 2013. He was 25, 26,
Thereabout,
right?
Yeah,
25. And the reason why it's okay to give Virat Kohli a long run is because he started off on such a high. And I mean, the last 2-3 years have been a slump. So if we can give those players a long rope at the start of the careers, then why won't you give Virat Kohli a longer rope towards the end of it, after he's proven so much, right? So that's okay, I guess. I mean, he'll have to. I mean, it's not suddenly with Rohit Sharma, you weren't exactly sure. Or if you watched him from very close quarters, you'd think that, okay, you know what, this guy is going to do something big one day. But Virat Kohli has already done those big things, and he's done massive things. So you're not doubting his talent. There are chinks in the armor that he needs to sort out immediately. That is one. That is on his part. The other part of the team management, if you could take those calls to drop Kohli, Rahane and Pujara, who were, by the way, also proven players. Rahane, again, I think he sort of underplayed his talent. He should have done a lot more given the talent that he had. Pujara, despite winning you that test series in Australia in 2018-19, he was the top scorer.
Put a lot more tattoos, get some weird hairstyles and all that. Is that what you say?
No, possibly. Who knows? That might work.
You must ask the team management.
Ooh, that might work. And then he took those body blows, poor guy, on that second tour.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of bad test matches in
South
South Africa, they promptly
in
dropped
this case,
him.
we are worried about having a vice captain, can't drop a vice captain. But a stand-in
To hell
captain
with
who
it.
won one of the biggest series
Yes,
in the.
Ajinkya
But I'm
Rahane.
not saying that dropping him was not right.
Yeah.
But when you can do that to a player who was out of form, then
I mean, Pujara, KL Rahul has been out of form longer than Rahane and Pujara, I think. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, that removing him as vice captain before the indoor test must have meant something. Now,
Captain
whether or
says
not
nothing.
Captain says nothing.
Captain Rohit Sharma says.
But
it's
I think-
impossible
I
to
think-
glean things out from press conferences of Indian captains and coaches. It's always very difficult. So I wouldn't see too much into that. I think that they take a bold call. They have to. I mean, if they don't, and even if KL Rahul performs and gets runs, I would still think that's unfair on Shubman Gill.
It is.
Because Shubman Gill has done everything that he needs to do. Not just, I mean, people are not going to think about his double century, his T20 100, but poor guy also scored 100 against Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And
He
also
won you one of the most important
Yeah.
test matches in your history.
showed so much guts and in that knock.
So, yeah. Anyway, you're putting your money on KL Rahul being dropped for indoor. I mean, by the time this podcast is out, we'll know either which way. But just
I wouldn't put it beyond this team management to pick him in the 11 again.
you?
I believe they will give a chance to Shubman Gill.
I think Shubman Gill is coming. I'm in with Saurabh on this. I think Shubman Gill is going to play in India.
One last question, if we have time, since we have spoken about England versus India and all that. Can you give me your top 3 test teams that are right now playing? Current
you
era.
know,
Not rate them. Just.
8 years back it would have been easy to do this, but now most teams win in their own conditions and they go and flop overseas.
But even in that, you use the same yardsticks and then give me 1, 2, 3.
If I have to discount 3 test matches, 2 in South Africa, that rescheduled test match in England, I would still say India are a little ahead of Australia and England. Why? Because of their all-round bowling attack and their lower order. And even if 1 or 2 of your batters do have a mediocre series, I think India are a pretty good proposition. And then I'll place England and Australia not at a very distant third.
Yeah, I will also rate India at number 1. I will rate Australia number 2. Despite this performance in India, they have been super when they have played in the home conditions. England have to come and win good matches in India if they want to be there.
Yeah. What about you?
England, India, and Australia.
Okay, at least there was no U-turn this time.
Yeah. In this form,
Your chair was about to collapse when
if it
recording
was
started.
Shah's and Virat's team, they were number 1 for me.
I'm proud
But
of
this Rahul Dravid and
you were about to fall flat with your chair when the recording started, and now you've held on firmly. Very interesting, very impressive, in fact. But how about, do you read comments that come in through from? Why?
read them. It's my
Oh, goodness.
should read them actually.
Yeah. Then you'll see the kind of slamming that you get.
You can ask our readers also to comment there.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
Listeners.
yeah, I mean, they know if they want to reach out. By the way, our listeners and our viewers can always reach out to us on pods@indiatoday.com and ping us on 8588 966 and do rate us. And wherever you're consuming this podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you can always rate us. You can leave comments and you can tell us what you like about us, what you don't like about us, pick out individuals and slam us. It's what we do here. Yeah. Less clumsy next time. You've done everything here. You've slipped, you've spilled coffee, you've almost broken a chair, you almost lost your access card, you've done horrible things.
But when it comes to the subject matter,
and then you take a U-turn. When it comes
I've
to the subject, he takes a solid U-turn.
I've been the most fact-based.
Do you want me to do a special segment with your shows and your clips and your?
I think
we should do that.
Expose Akshay.
Yeah.
And his U-turns.
That'll be some fun. But that's that for today, because I think it's difficult to identify the best test team in the world currently.
England.
If you go and say simple England, I'm the best, it's just fine. But you have to back it up with logic. I mean, I agree with some of your points, but again, it's a very cultural thing. It's a very cultural thing. Nobody is saying that Brendan McCullum will be able to do the same thing that he did with England, even in Australia for that matter. So it's a cultural thing as well. But on that note, have a cracking week ahead. There'll be a lot more to talk about after this third test match. Australia under Steve Smith. So that'll be something to watch out for. Pat Cummins, we hope everything is okay and he is able to get back to India for that fourth test match. That's a great cricketer. Has been a good ambassador for Australia. Led Australia with dignity, at least besides the criticism on the field. He's led Australia with a lot of dignity in these two test matches so far. Thank you so much for joining us and have a lovely week. We'll catch up very, very soon. Thank you.